Welcome back to YouQube. This is our second episode this week. Last week we had our big two-part series premiere talking about drag queens with Sweetie Edgewater and Isabella Latoile Collins. And our big event for that episode was the KINSEY SICKS. And surprise! It still is this week. Because it's actually today, Wednesday, January 28th at 8 o'clock in the Great Hall of the MSC. If you haven't bought your tickets already, you can purchase those online at tickets.uwstout.edu or in person at the lower level service desk in the MSC. Like I said, buy those tickets. It's a great event. They're hilarious. If you've seen on the Cube Facebook page, we've been posting music videos just to give everyone a taste of the Kinseys and get them pumped up. Yeah. And so with them still being our big event, we're going to continue talking about drag. Like I said in last week's two-part episode, we were talking about drag queens. Drag is so important to the gay culture that we wanted to talk about queens and kings in a separate episode. So that's this episode. We'll be talking about drag kings with student drag king Mr. Opportunity. He's been doing drag here since he started at Stout, so quite a few years now. And has even hosted the past few shows. So, super awesome. Really excited to get to know Mr. Opportunity and get a couple drag tips from him. So, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, and we're back on YouQube. We are with Mr. Opportunity, who is a student drag king here at UW Stout. Mr. Opportunity, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks for having me. My name is Mr. Opportunity. I've been a drag king here at Stout for 5 years. I started my very first freshman year with the first amateur drag show Stout ever put on, and I've never given up since. It's
fascinating.
Yeah.
What was your first song?
It was "I'm So Paid" by Akon and Lil Wayne.
Oh, good.
Yep.
That makes me happy. Is that your favorite song, or do you have a favorite song that you've done?
My favorite song I've ever done is probably "Miss New Booty." Because it was a crowd pleaser. Everyone loved the ass.
Oh, good. That's always important. Ass is important.
Always.
Yeah, so today's episode is talking about drag kings. Last week we had our two-part series premiere with drag queens. Like I said, we got the Kinseys coming, so keep talking about drag, because why not, right?
Hell yeah.
Drag is always fun to talk about.
It's the best.
Awesome. And so if you want to start out, Mr. Opportunity, with the main differences between drag queens and drag kings.
Alright, well, the main difference between drag kings and queens isn't necessarily gender, it's how you decide to express yourself on stage. Drag queens choose to express themselves in a feminine persona, and drag kings choose the masculine persona. I being a cis female, I was born female, I choose to dress in male persona and do drag as a male because I think it's more exciting, more liberating for me. Typically males choose to do the drag queen part because it's more exhilarating, difference, change. But really you can do either one you'd like.
Or you could do performance as your gender as well.
Correct.
Obviously there's femme queens and faux queens like we talked about last week, and then there's male entertainers as well. So they'll create the masculine illusion and they'll perform as a male, and they usually identify as male. So, yeah. Awesome. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. There's a pretty broad spectrum for drag in general.
Yeah, it's all about that masculine illusion, basically, right?
Exactly.
So to create your masculine illusion, do you want to give us some drag king tips? What are some different techniques that different drag kings use?
I'm actually wearing a couple right now. The key one for kings, especially if you're a female drag king who has long hair, you're going to need one of these. A hat is number one because you're going to want to hide your hair. Your hair is a key giveaway that it has a more feminine persona. So hiding your hair is number one. I have short hair. It makes it a lot easier. I don't have to perform with a hat on, but it gives the illusion of masculinity, which I like. Also, sunglasses, it is my personal preference, mostly because we're on stage. There's a lot of lights on you. You can't see anything. But also it kind of gives the audience more of like a mystery factor. Like they don't really know who you are really, or what you look like. It's fun.
Tall, dark, and handsome.
Exactly.
Mysterious.
Or short, blonde, and pretty damn cute.
That's Mr. Opportunity for you.
There you go.
And so then, as well, I know one of the big misconceptions about drag queens versus drag kings is a lot of people view drag queens as super putting effort into it, like all these different techniques that are going on, and then drag kings are just a chick who puts on a hat and some baggy pants. Like, so what are some of the more intense techniques that you can do if you really want to put the same amount of effort into it? Because I know a lot of drag kings really do put just as much, if not more, effort in as compared to drag queens.
Well, like on the makeup aspect, queens do have to put a lot of effort in making their face look more feminine. But for females, it's also really hard to make your face look more masculine. Men have more of a bone structure that sticks out, that's more, that protrudes more, that has more, like, depth. So for drag kings, it's really important for people, they like to do a lot of facial hair, and facial hair takes a lot of technique because to make it actually look like hair, it's quite difficult with doing just makeup. A lot of people also use like fake hair that they'll put on. I choose not to just because I have blonde hair, and I think I probably wouldn't have facial hair even if I was a guy, or it would be like flaming orange. So I choose to go with the no facial hair, and with just a little bit more of a masculine like walk to it. It's also about how you present yourself. You want to be positive, and you want to actually feel like you're a man so other people feel like you're a man.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that swagger that you got going.
See, the swagger's, it's a science, actually. Men and women walk differently. Women tend to walk leading with their chest. Men tend to walk leading with their crotch, you know. Clearly the best aspects of both they'll tend to lead with. So if you want to walk more like a man, they usually tend to lean back a little bit when they walk, stick their
groin,
their penis out at you a little bit, and walk slower and walk with a wider stance.
Best foot forward. At least I hope it's a foot. That'd be fascinating.
Well, if the shoe fits.
If the shoe fits. Awesome. That was really informative. And then so something I wanted to talk about towards the end of this episode was this article that I found on advocate.com. And it is, will RuPaul ever crown a drag king? So just talking a little bit about that, and once again how there's that imbalance between how positively viewed drag queens are versus drag kings. And so the idea of, like, could we ever see a drag king on RuPaul's Drag Race, let alone one that is successful? In a recent season, RuPaul said the only thing that they screened for is being sickening, when Monica Beverly Hills came out as transgender. So how do you feel about that? Do you think that they should have drag kings on RuPaul's?
You know, I think it's a progression. I think the reason there hasn't been any drag kings is because of the shock and the new aspect that drag queens have brought to the society, because this, you know, generation of kings and queens has been so underground recently now that it's come out. I think it's easier for people to understand the queen aspect and to be more entertained by queens because it's something so unusual and so not what most people are expecting. So I think that for a TV show, I understand why there's queens. I think it would be really awesome to see a show on kings just because it's a very underrated aspect of the drag world.
Yeah, I definitely get that with the, like, shock factor, because when you see a person as a drag queen, you're like, whoa, what is that? Exactly. That's an awesome illusion, but then when you see a drag king, there's a feeling of, like, oh, it's just a tomboy.
And it's more so, I think, a performance that the drag kings have to put on. They are a lot more dependent on how they're dancing, how the song represents who they are, and I think queens can rely a little bit more on their look, because it's definitely more of a shock to look like a woman when you're a man, and drag kings have to, you know, act like a man, because it's not necessarily a big thing to look like a man, but to act and to, you know, have the persona as a man is a little bit harder.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was really
fascinating.
Me. I learned a lot. Maybe I'll just, like, come out and be a drag king now.
All right. I'll give you a few pointers.
Okay, sweet. Awesome. Thank you so much. Remember, buy your tickets for the KINSEY SICKS.
Do it.
Yeah, buy them. It is today, actually, Wednesday, January 28th at 8 till 9:30, and it's in the MSC. If you still haven't bought your tickets, you can get them at tickets.uwstout.edu or in person at the service desk in the lower level of the MSC. Like I said, they're hilarious. Can't stop talking about them because they're so great.
Go, 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 go. Number one.
Yeah, if Mr. Opportunity is telling you to go, you really should go.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Don't let me down.
So, yeah, hopefully I'll be seeing all of you lovely folks there tonight. And don't forget to subscribe. Yeah.
Do it.
Peace sign. That thing, yeah. Awesome.